Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
You guys, like every Monday, I love to wake up, read my paper, have coffee, pet my dogs, and I want to hear Eraser and Fever Dreaming.
Yes, what is happening? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, Randy Randall. Today is a very special day for me on this podcast. I play in a rock and roll band called No Age, and we're a duo. And today I am very fortunate to get to welcome the other half of No Age, my brother, Mr. Dean Spunt. I feel like this is a long time coming, a long time in the making. I think I was nervous to have Dean on the podcast. We talk about it a little bit in the interview, but we've known each other for a very long time, Dean Spunt and myself, and we talk about that again in the interview. So I won't spoil anything, but it's always just it's a funny one. It's been great, doing this podcast now for a little over a year, and I could say I don't really know what I'm doing. I definitely started this not really knowing at all. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I still listen to a lot of podcasts, but I have really no, training or way of knowing. I think most podcasters, there's not a podcasting school that I know of, at least, or that I would go to. But just kind of talking into a microphone and talking to friends and then recording it and putting it out. That's the best I can say I'm doing here. So it's funny. It's a funny one then for me to talk to somebody that I know well. And there's something that's easier to like talking to people you don't know, because then you have questions to ask. It's like, it's a harder one to interview friends. I think, I had my wife on a halftime show a few weeks ago when Aaron Farley had to evacuate his house because of the fires here in Southern California. So my wife filled in, and that was really funny too. It's we've had all the conversations there are to have. So to put microphones in between us and be like, hello, I will interview you now. It feels very sort of formal and silly. And I think that same sort of feeling was with Dean. I think, we've been friends for a very long time. We've done a lot of things together all over the world, playing music and traveling and getting along and fighting and all the stuff you do. I mean, the nature of being in a band, it's very much like being brothers and business partners, and, sometimes feels like you're in a marriage, learning how to compromise and how to do all these things, just get along and not be on each other's backs, the whole time, or not, getting on each other's skin or just annoying each other. And then just giving each other shit, and just talking shit, and then telling them, Dean and I have probably heard each other's stories a million times. A lot of long drives in tour vans where like, do you know the story? Did I ever tell you about this? Like, oh yeah, I know that one. Do you know this one? Oh yeah, no, I know that one. And sometimes you just let the other person ramble, or you yourself are like, I know he's already heard this, but I'm just going to keep rambling anyway. There's some way to fill time. I feel like this formal interview between Dean and myself, and I guess he and I have also been interviewed together for the band or separately about the band, but I don't think we've ever interviewed each other for anything. I'm trying to think if that was ever part of the thing. I think it was always somebody else interviewing us. So it was the first time, had a formal, on the record conversation about all the dumb stuff that we've talked about for decades. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's good. I mean, it's probably one of those things too. It's funnier in my mind, all the stuff we're not saying. I feel like when I was listening back to edit it and just, make sure it was all working, I was like, there's a lot of quiet time in here. I'm just like, I'll just let Dee talk about this stuff, or I'll just, what questions to ask, what not to ask. It's a funny one. Definitely, I recommend it to anybody out there who interviews. If you're ever in an opportunity to interview some of the closest people in your life, you should do it, because it's hilarious and funny and weird. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. I hope everyone is doing well. We are finishing off September here. We'll be starting October very soon, which is fun and exciting, and all the Halloween stuff is ramping up. I hope everyone's picked out their Halloween costumes. I would like to see what the Halloween options are. You can find me on the Instagrams at Randy S. Randall. DM me with what your Halloween costume inspirations are. I need to figure something out for us. I think we've got SpongeBob as a family costume. We've really taken to doing the family costumes this year, or these last couple of years. We've had some fun ones. So we'll see. If you have any suggestions for good family costumes, if you can find me on the Instagrams at Randy S. Randall. You can also email the show, hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. I would love to hear from anybody out there in the world. Or you can always also give us a review on whatever podcasting, listening system you have. Go out there, give us 5 stars. Tell us why you love the show, or tell me why you don't love the show, but still give me 5 stars. Don't give any less stars, but you could also say you think the show's terrible and I need to go to this imaginary podcasting school. I think that would be really fun too. But, just write in the comments, but also give the 5 stars. And tell your friends that they should listen to this podcast, because that really helps a lot too. Word of mouth is sort of the biggest way. Good things are spread around the world by word of mouth. One person telling another person, "Hey, I heard this thing is pretty good." So if you think you have a friend that would enjoy this, do not hesitate. Let them know. I should read reviews on the air too. I've seen other podcasts do that. It's kind of fun. If you leave a review for this thing, I will read it. Maybe Farley and I can do that on the next halftime we figure out how to read some reviews on the air. That'd be really fun. So please go in, leave us 5 stars, 5 stars only, and tell us why you think this show is good or why we can be better. And also let me know if anybody's done the thing where they give an artist $20. Just walk up to them at a show. I would like to make this a thing. # give artist $20. I think it's a good trend to start. I think everyone needs to support arts, support independent creators, and people going out there. And it's hard. It's hard out there in the world for artists. So if you can spare the $20, please just walk up to anybody with a guitar and say, "Hey, here's $20. And then I want to hear the story. Tell me how it went." I don't think anybody would ever say no to that. So thank you, everyone. Don't forget distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. I really want to make a new commercial that starts all these shows. Maybe I'll put that on my list of to-do things for the month of October, record a new one. If you have any suggestions for how that commercial should go, what are the things you're tired of hearing me say all the time? What are the things I say too much? What are the things I don't say enough? Find me. hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com or Instagram at Randy S. Randall. Let me know. I'm up for hearing what's going on. Here to tell me how you guys are doing. And thank you, Dean Spunt. Oh, also, Dean has a new record out. That's was kind of the reason we figured we picked this time to talk. Dean has a record on dragcityrecords.com. I think that's their website. Go find Dean's new record. You will love it if you are a fan of No Age and if you know what we have done. This record is cool. This is the Dean half of the combo. I've done some solo records, so you can kind of hear my side of records and what it's a funny one. We've been playing for so long, and it's cool to be able to do something separately too. It's like absence makes the heart grow fonder or something, like I get to play, stuff that wouldn't fit in a No Age context. I think that's kind of what Dean's doing as well. He gets to play things that wouldn't fit necessarily in a No Age context. So Dean's new record is called Basic Editions. You can go to dragcity.com and pre-order it now. It will be out this Friday, tomorrow. You can get it on MP3, LP, or FLAC. Do not sleep on the FLAC. You need this for your FLAC collection. It is an awesome, cool, experimental, wild record. I will let him tell you about it and how he made it and the cool retro future technology that he has employed to make this one-of-a-kind piece of art. So without further ado, here is my conversation with the one and only Mr. Dean Spunt, my brother from another mother. Maybe brother from the same mother. I don't know. It's all we're kind of at this point we're it's been so confused. We've mixed it up. I think his mom is my mom is his mom. We've we've joined forces. So yeah, hope you enjoy it and go buy his new record. Also, he's going to be out there on the road. He gets into it. He talks a little bit about the things. You can find him at .govgov, DOTGOVGOV on Instagrams. You can see his tour dates he has coming up. He'll be hitting the East Coast and Western Europe in the very near future. Also, No Age, the band that he and I both play in together, where we'll be playing in Venice on Halloween night. This will be the culmination of the Halloween season. The Halloween night at a great venue called the Venice West. So if you're in Los Angeles or Southern California area and you want to get tickets, we have that link up on our Instagram at NoAgeLA on Instagram. So you can go buy tickets directly from the Venice West website as well. I think we're going to be playing with the Death Valley Girls there. I think it's going to be a fun, wild, spooky night. I need some kind of costume ideas. So please, again, send me costume ideas. I'm crowdsourcing these ideas. I got costumes I need to wear. I can do a family costume. I can do a band costume. Let me know. Write in. Tell us what you think we should dress up as for the Halloween show. All right, here goes. Mr. Dean Spunt. Thanks, buddy. Mr. Dean Spunt, welcome to Hyphenate Halftime with me, Randy Randall, your host.
Hi. The Hyphenate halftime.
Oh no, this isn't halftime. Oh wait, this is a regular time. This is the full time. Oh, my glasses are fogging. It's so hot here.
Oh no.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping on. What is this called? Hyphenate. Yeah. The halftime is the morning show or the wrap up show we do on the Mondays.
I mean, it's 9:30 for me.
This is the full time show we do on what do you call this? Thursdays. This will be out on the Thursday. Professional. What's going on?
I just walked in and this thing was on. I walked in the room and the screen was on. So
hey, welcome.
How you doing? I'm good.
Yeah, good.
Thanks for having me. Finally, I've seen it all unfold and it looks. Oh
my God!
I'm glad I can check it out.
This is it's been a wild ride over here on the Hyphenate train. Well, it's a funny.
I know the studio.
You've been here, yeah. You helped build this studio.
Yeah, a little bit.
What was I going to say? Yeah, no, it's a funny one because I've had other people say that as well. Like, oh, finally, like I get to be on the thing. When in my mind, it's like, at what point do I annoy all of my friends by asking them to do this? It's, you know what I mean? It's not as if I'm like, I think the ones who have waited longer are the ones maybe I respect more. Like, if you haven't been on it yet, it's like
they're like, oh, he's coming for me at some point.
Yeah, no disrespect to the people who've already been on here, but I feel like I needed some guinea pigs in the beginning to figure out what I was doing.
Well, I think you see it's unfolding and it's sort of building a collection of
weirdos.
Yeah. So you're like, I don't know. Hey, I got something to add to that.
Yeah. Well,
and me, I don't pod.
You're not a podder.
I don't
about you.
Have a podcast like the app or regular or I don't have a practice. So
yeah.
I find yours sticks out.
Oh, I see. Right. Of the zero podcasts that exist,
I know more
is at the top one.
But I just don't. I don't have a practice. So
sure.
But yours is also it's people. Well, I don't know everybody, but it's
friends. Probably
friends or
98% of the people you know.
Yeah.
So we should start at the beginning. I guess I'll have an intro before this, but for people who don't know, you and I play in the band No Age.
Yes,
we've also played in bands prior to that.
Yes,
and we go way back. So this may be inside baseball. I forget that sometimes. My mom likes to remind me. She gives me notes.
Oh, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she's like, no, there was one I did. I forget what it was. A few weeks.
I don't
back.
know what flanger is, Randy.
Yeah, there was one I did. She was like, you know what? I could actually follow what you guys were saying. It wasn't all just like nonsense. And I was like, oh, thanks, Mom. I appreciate that.
Well, Jovi will fall. She knows this. She knows this one. She knows what's up.
Big shout out to Jovi, my mom. It's a funny one. I haven't quite figured out who the audience is or what they like, but I figured, like anything like art or like music, if you like it, then, you're your own audience. I think at first I was very self-conscious that this would be like a podcast for, men in their 40s who like skateboarding and, music and guitars. And then I realized, and then men in their 40s who like skateboarding and music and guitars have written me and said, "I love this podcast." And I said, "Oh, okay, this is the correct. This is it." Yeah, there are others like me out there, talking about the void. So I've learned that.
I'm there. I like all those things. So here we are. Here I am. I found it.
Once again, two white men in their 40s have found their way onto a podcast every day, all over the globe. This phenomenon is happening.
I mean, we've played, and if you don't know, we've played music together for, I want to say 20. I guess we started playing probably 2001 or 2000 maybe. We probably jammed in 2000.
Probably 2000, yeah.
So
25 years.
A quarter of a century.
Woo, boy.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
That is wild. And the first time we jammed was either at your house or it was at that, like a studio. But I feel like it was probably at your house with the mattress turned up. And
the house on Fuller, yeah.
With Jed and those other guys just kind of jamming.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I remember that because I think I had seen you. So you would sell zines out in front of popular concerts or like
known to
places. So I remember seeing you out in front of, like, not necessarily in the show, but out in front of the show I was going to. I'm like, oh, there's that guy, and then there was another guy, and you guys had haircuts that were cool.
Well, we also had probably friends in common and shows in common. So
right, yeah, we had probably similar taste in music.
I remember meeting you at the record store at Aaron's.
Right,
and I don't know if we'd met before that, but
I think I played at Headline. With the other band.
But this is before that.
Oh, before that even?
Before that. Because, so you came into Aaron's and I think you bought the Count 7-inch. And
maybe that's right.
And I was like, I know that band. And you're like, I'm in that band now.
I'm the new guy.
Yeah. And then I think even at that meeting, it dawned on me that you were the guy that my friend was telling me that we should jam. So,
okay.
But then after that, I went to go see you at Headline.
That's funny.
And because I had already had an inkling of that we were, we were paired together.
I didn't know that yet. I don't think I knew.
Yeah.
Homeboy didn't even talk about you until like you guys were coming over. Like, oh, I know some people, kind of thing.
Yeah, he told me like I know a guy.
Yeah, he might have been putting something together and just knew I was game. And I was like, whatever, dude. Yeah, I want to play. Let's go.
But I've told it before. I've said it before, but I saw you at that show and you were a maniac. So
it sounds about
punching the bass or throwing on the ground and yelling, and I was like, wow. Yeah, also,
I took the genre power violence by its name. Yeah.
and those guys had a style, a vibe.
Yeah.
And you
I didn't know about that.
Opposite, just in those skate shoes and I skated there. I was like, oh, cool. Nice. I might have been coming out of the style. I had a little bit of that in, high school and post that stuff, but I became more, I gravitated more towards the realness, which you displayed in full at that show.
It's so funny. Yeah. I think, it was a funny one. I mean, I got roped into that band just out of boredom and like just spite. I think I was doing a lot of 4-track stuff, and then a friend's ex-girlfriend, like, oh, you should meet my new boyfriend. I'm like, all right. And then, and he's like, yeah, you just come over and you just punch the bass for like, 30-second songs. I'm like,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. That sounds great. Like, or no, but I mean, he didn't say punch the bass, but he's like, the songs go like this.
But did you learn any of the parts? I remember you told me you didn't learn or you didn't.
What is there to learn? That's what I'm saying. Like the parts were very like, at least to me at the time, who I knew 3 or 4 chords. I knew enough to like, I was not an accomplished musician by any means, but
they were very fast songs.
I was 18 and the songs just went.
Yeah, in the genre of
the next
violence.
One was the one had 6 and the other one had 4. So I was like, okay, I don't know. And then I remember after the first show or something, it was like no one's paying attention to what we're doing. Like, it doesn't really matter. So that was my introduction to that world. I think I was coming out of that Sonic Youth, My Bloody Valentine, sort of Beastie Boys.
But also at that age, it's and you want to play music, you're just playing with whoever asks.
Right.
I mean, I was in high school. I was in like an emo band, and then after high school, I was in someone's Riot Girl band. And no shade to those genres, but
wasn't maybe your
wasn't
pick,
exactly
but,
my thing. You know, I mean, I got into those more as I started playing the music, and you know, I've been known to do deep dives and excavate, but you know, quickly switched gears to other stuff. But you
what
sort of
is
play.
Yeah, Shan was asking me. She's the roller skate place she likes to go to. It is branching off, and they're gonna have an emo night. And she's like, so they have the goth night that they always do. Yeah. Now they're going to have an emo night. And she's like, what? Like, isn't like the Smiths and like the Cure, isn't that emo? And I was like, you know what?
I don't know anymore.
I would, yeah. I was like, I think the word emo has like turned into like early aughts, whatever, power pop, or post, what do they call it?
Post rock, hardcore?
Pop punk. I think pop punk in the early aughts is now what's called emo.
Yeah, I think now Romance. Emo. I think even Blink-182 would probably be emo.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Back then, I guess it was. I mean, I don't know, Rites of Spring or Embrace or The Promise Ring or those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone knows that anymore, except that like that label Numero group putting out all these bands that are of that genre. Yeah.
It's almost it's like the 90s stuff is almost like post alternative or post punk or something.
Yeah, post hardcore, but also like no one cares well, I guess like that label is revisiting that kind of stuff, which I feel like it's maybe not that interesting. Some of it, but a lot of it maybe not for me.
Yeah. That's a funny one.
Yeah.
I think playing music when you find your way to music, it's friends or whoever is around. Like those, I think that's what was important to me. I think because I was a fan of music, but I was not necessarily part of a community outside of like my high school. I sort of, had like high school friends, and again, genres meant nothing because it was just like, you play in a ska band, like I have a 4-track, I'll record your band. You play in a Smashing Pumpkins cover band, cool, I'll record your band.
So many ska bands, yeah.
I had a community, but it was again just based on like proximity and people around my age, and who I was geolocationally next to. It's like, cool, okay, well I like music, I'll put up with your thing in order to have some relationship with live music. And that sort of seems like
I'll put a tie on. I'll go skank. Check it out.
I don't think well, you know what?
Pick it up.
Well, yeah. Well, because there was the Rialto Theater out there. What was the Skeletones? I remember was a ska band I thought was good because it was that kind of wave. There was a lot of. Well,
there was that like
in punk crossover
Inland Empire ska too. I think maybe Skank and Pickle.
Yeah, Voodoo Glow Skulls.
Yeah, or there was a
Orange County.
There was a record store out there. Dr. Strange that had the label, and I think that was a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I was aware of it because I had friends also in high school that were really into ska. And I liked reggae and ska because my father liked that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Or reggae. I mean, he liked weed, so he liked reggae.
He came with the dime bag, like, hey, take this Jimmy Cliff record too while you're at it. Okay.
But he didn't really listen. I mean, he liked The Who, and he liked Led Zeppelin, and then he liked reggae, and the only music he bought was like reggae CDs. And it wasn't like he had a deep knowledge or anything, but he would just, I think he'd get high and drink beer and be like, I love this kind of music. So I had a somewhat understanding of that, but
my dad exclusively listened to surf music. I mean, it was like the most generic, like, hey, surf hits. Now that's what I call surf music. Like collection of surf-orama. Like every piece of music was that.
Yeah.
So it was like really the same 10 songs repackaged over and over again on different CDs and different tapes and different things. It was all, but my dad also liked books on tape. So maybe that's where I get my podcast thing from. I remember before we'd go on road trips, we were to drive down to Mexico, like he'd go to the library and check out like a giant clamshell with like 16 cassettes. And then I had the boombox with the 2 tape things, so you could make, so I would dupe all the, I'd make I'd burn a CD. No, I'd
for him. You'd make the tapes for him.
I would copy all the cassettes so then he could return it back to the library, and then we had
catalog them.
We had our thing. I don't know. I'd just write on there like tape 1 of Robert Mitchum's Hawaii or whatever. Or like Tom Clancy's newest thriller. Like this is the 14th tape of the series thing. So we'd listen to those alive in between the Ventures and Dick Dale and all those other things.
That's funny because your dad surfed. My dad did too. But the surf, and I don't know what, I guess the weed maybe is the difference factor there, but the reggae. And my dad loved, like, we wouldn't listen to music in the car. My mom would listen to music. My dad would listen to mostly, sometimes it'd be reggae, but most time it'd be talk radio, AM talk radio.
There it is.
Just constant.
That's the podcast.
Yeah.
That was the podcast of its day.
Yeah. That's what it reminds me of when I hear the podcast. It's just NPR.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. My dad. So Rush Limbaugh, you know, maybe this is too much. I don't know. Inside stuff, or who cares? But
yeah,
my parents were of the hippie ilk, and then they slowly became more conservative, like Rush Limbaugh and Dr. Laura creeped in.
Sure,
but
it was called the '80s. This is what
it was
happened.
called the '80s and '90s,
Yeah.
and then who's the like late night conspiracy
Tom
guy?
Likas? Oh no, you know it's so funny. I was just
George Norrie, but before George Norrie was
I was just talking to Hemp Hill about this too. We're trying to remember the guy that would talk about like UFOs and aliens.
Yeah, it was before George Norrie's the guy now, but he had his show. Yeah. The show before his was Art Bell.
Art Bell, yeah.
Art Bell. So those would come on. You drive at night.
Art LeBeau.
Not Art LeBeau. Art LeBeau was
Art Bell. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom's cousins were into the. But anyway, a lot of art.
Yeah.
So many arts.
Art Bell. Yeah. No, and that was fun. And then there was even like Love Line. You know, there was a lot of that kind of stuff that was like in the '90s when we were teenagers.
Yeah, but I also, it's cool that you had friends that were into ska.
Yes, I did.
No, it's cool. It's cool that you grew up in an area. I was just talking to Beth about this yesterday, that you grew up in an area, and Beth grew up in an area. She's from Columbus, Ohio, that had college radio. And, you know, you were exposed to so much cool music or just ideas outside of your, I don't know, high school or your family life.
Yeah. Well, the older brother thing helped me a bunch too. I think.
And the older brother. Yeah. I had an older brother too, but where I grew up, you know, similar distance from where you were to the city, but no college radio. So like, just felt like AM radio and nothing. I mean, what a difference, you know.
MTV.
I was still able to find stuff out, but I had to go a lot further out. But like nothing was, and it's odd because there's
Rhino
3 colleges here in town.
Yeah,
you know,
where's that college town culture? You got
I don't know. I'm curious. I was just talking about
the
yesterday.
minimal culture.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What was the record store that Hemp Hill worked at though? That sounded like that was cool.
Tempo.
Was that cool or no? That was kind of just.
It was cool.
Janet Jackson with the
it
small punk
was
section.
pretty cool.
It had real stuff. All right.
They had moved around a couple times, and I first went there, and remember that story where my aunt's boyfriend made me a punk tape.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it was stylized to where it was an adolescence album, but I thought it said Adolf Sense, and I thought it was like racist music.
It was like a Nazi cologne.
I thought, yeah. And being Jewish, I was like, well,
this is aggressive. This is how it goes.
I don't know. But luckily I went into the record store and they're like, you're I don't know what you're saying. At Adolf Sense. I'm like, no, there's a song called, you know, like Kids is a Black Hole. And they're like, oh, it's Adolescence. And then I was relieved.
Well, but their name was like hyphenated, right? They had like
I think the first cover.
The blue cover. What is that?
Yeah.
Was that the first one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but then also, confusing. I think Rick Agnew has a swastika on his shirt in the back picture. It's cut off, but you can probably see it. Anyway, that store was cool. And I would go and, you know, buy stuff there. Aaron worked there. And then right down the street was the skate shop that Brian Roettinger worked at. Yo-Yos.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wild.
Those guys are a couple years older than me and cooler.
Yeah. But again, but that's what you need was that sort of those like signposts of like the older kids, like what was cool out there. Like your antenna's out, you're looking for anything. It's like you're fishing.
Hemp Hill and Roettinger.
Like, something cool. It's got to be out here. And then you see it. Yeah. You see a person like Hemp Hill walk by. I'm sure his hair was even cooler then.
Yeah.
He looked like a man who'd always had cool hair.
I'll say Hemp Hill and Roettinger were my college radio.
Yep. There you go. You should make a bumper sticker that says.
But I saw them play in Hollywood when I was like, you know,
where did they play?
Shows.
Remember the club?
Yeah, the Natural Fudge. It was called. It was on Fountain, right by the Scientology building now.
Oh, whoa! By UCB
that vegan?
And like birds and like all those.
No, that's Franklin, but on Fountain.
Oh, Fountain.
Or not that Scientology, the big blue Scientology.
The other,
you know, the big one on Fountain and kind of near West.
By Kaiser.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Lower than that, it was on Fountain.
Yep.
And now there's that vegan, like deli place.
Soul food. Oh yeah, Besties.
So it was right near there.
Yeah.
But it's called the Natural Fudge, and they were in a band called Phil's Throne, And there was they were from Hart High School in Newhall, but I went to go see the band from Saugus High School where I went. They were called Corporate Condo. Whoa. And then there was a band called the Spent Idols who came up and played, and they were from San Diego.
They were the draw? Were they the headliner?
I guess so, but they were the ones that came and they pulled a gun on the kids from my high school that were playing. And I was 13.
Wait, why'd they pull a gun? I don't know if I know this story.
They were these kind of like, well, we were, I was 13. The kids that were playing were probably 16.
This feels like an after-school special. Like,
yeah.
Don't let are your kids going to see high school bands in
Well,
Hollywood?
The Spent Idols were this sort of street punk, like 77 band from San Diego who were older, who were around in like the late 70s, early 80s.
Like Casualties.
Yeah, they looked like that, but they were kind of like Sid Vicious-y. And they were old. And they drove up. I remember their car was like a old Cadillac. I don't know if they drove that from San Diego or if that was a prop or something, but there was some sort of fight that ensued, and they actually pulled the gun out of the show. So the older kids rushed us into a van, and we're all waiting there. And I'm 13. There was a kid who was what, 12 or 11 too,
But they pulled the gun because they wanted the money, or
no? There was some beef that happened.
No. Sure.
I grew up in LA, but small.
Someone else.
Something dumb. But. So I never got to see the Spent Idols because we had to leave after that. But before that, I saw Phil's Throne, which was some other people and Brian and Aaron. And I didn't really know them at that time because this is before maybe the skate shop was open and I had been to the record store. But I remember Brian took his pants off and they were throwing pumpkins in the audience. And that was, I think, my first show like outside of anything. It was like someone's parents picked us all up and drove us all to the show.
Mm-hmm. And outside of Bobby Brown at Magic Mountain.
Yeah. There was Bobby Brown. And there was a local punk band I saw at like the VFW hall while my dad was going to NA, Narcotics Anonymous Junior. He dropped me off. He's like, I'm going to be back in an hour. And I was like, I just stood there in the corner and then he picked me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what bands were that?
That band, it was called God, I think they were called the Outside. The Outside. It was a pop punk type of band. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they ever played beyond that. I don't know.
It's funny. I think we could also
suburban pop punk.
Anyone that's listening to this, so Dean and I, we said we've been in bands now or played music for close to 25 years. It's also what mostly happens when you play in a band for that long is you're in a lot of vans and for like long drives, like 8-hour drives, 16-hour drives for decades. And so I think Dean and I we probably could do an interview if we ever asked to do an interview again, like, individually or whatever for band stuff. I bet I could tell your childhood story and you probably could tell my childhood story.
Yeah, I bet.
Get it pretty accurately. Like, so tell me, like, when did you first pick up guitar? When did you first start doing this? Or, I feel like we probably just exchange life stories and be pretty close to it. So it's funny. It's funny for me interviewing you in this, where normally I would ask all these questions. I'm like, I know all these answers.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot you don't know about me.
Dean Spunt, tell me something I don't know about you. What's something I'd be surprised to hear?
I made a record that's coming out on September 20 something.
What? Where can people go to buy a limited edition vinyl pressing of this record with a special present gift if they would like to?
I don't know the link.
If you go to dragcity.com/store, you can find
deanspunt.bandcamp.com.
There you go.
The link is down below.
Yeah, go ahead. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the link down below.
I did not know you made a record. Yeah.
I want to ask you about the record. We could talk about the record.
Sure, man.
But I want to know.
Oh yeah, more.
I want to know when you did your first kickflip.
My first kickflip? I don't know, but I do remember going to summer school between 8th and 9th grade, and there were some big skater kids there, and I showed up. I think I skated to the school for summer school. So I had my skateboard with me.
Yeah, small grab. Yeah.
Maybe post small grab, but definitely, I mean, I was into skating, but at the summer school class, first break, these older big kids come to me, they're like, "What's up, man? See you do a kickflip."
That's the best. I still yell that at kids when I'm driving. Do a kickflip.
Did I do one? I don't know if I could do one then.
I couldn't do that under pressure. No way.
Yeah, I think, and it's also like from standing, not rolling. I'm sitting there and I think I tried. And then there's like, you suck.
Just got hit in the shins.
That was that. All right.
That was pretty good. I mean, I was goofy. I'm still goofy, but I used to push Mongo.
You are?
As a kid. Yeah.
Wow.
See, it's something you don't know.
That's amazing.
Something you didn't know. But I used to push Mongo too, because it just seemed cooler. Like there weren't like, I think whatever the skate community or the friends that I had we were not strict. I think it was a very loose sort of free form.
But Mongo didn't really get lame Mongo was fine for a while too. It didn't seem like it was like, that's awful. Like a varial kickflip was also fine for a while. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those became things that were like, nope.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a very loose kind of thing because it was in that world between vert and street. I think it was like late 80s, early 90s when I started skating. And it was like, just, do anything. I went from butt boarding to kind of standing up and cruising to then, getting a popsicle board with like the two tails.
Yeah.
And then all that stuff became codified and normal, and like the rigid rules built around those things, or Hesh or Fresh or these kinds of things, but it just sort of all seemed
Heshers and Hausers.
Right? Oh God, yeah.
I mean, when we lived together and we had a little skateboard ramp in the back, I never skated a ramp ever.
Me neither.
Or even a skate park, but you actually were pretty good at that ramp. I never even the physics of a ramp still to me, I'm like, I just always skated any kind of street thing or jumped off a couple stairs
some curbs.
Any sort of like incline really messed me up, and sort of.
I loved big hips when I was just that sort of thing when you get right to the peak.
You
and
still
then
do.
Hello, boom. Like doing a kickflip at the top of a hip, or something, that kind of full lot, like you're like, whoa, just about to end, and you have kind of that momentum. That was always the fun sort of part of that.
Yeah.
But no, I was never great at like stairs or rails, that kind of stuff. And then loose shoulders.
Loose shoulders sink boulders.
That was it. The So you play in a band No Age, and you have is this your first full length solo record? You've done collaborations with.
Well, I did I've done performance stuff.
Yeah,
at art galleries and things like that, and I did a performance at Gordon Roba Show in New York a couple of years ago. Now I don't know if you remember the year, but a friend of mine approached me about that performance as a record, so I re-recorded that performance, and that was motion censored speakers and triggering MIDI stuff that I'd used on that Muse box, that little blue thing that I had brought in to record with before.
Yeah,
that we ended up using on some records, but there's 4 long tracks, and it's designed with a hole in the middle. It looks like a 12-inch, but it's really length. It's full length timed. It's like 30 something minute record, but that feels like a record. But I don't know if it's different because there's a performance translated into recording. It wasn't like I really wrote, and it was motion censored speakers, so it's triggered by the way I was moving in the studio. And then John Weiss and I did that record together, The Echoing Shell, and that was a full length record too. But the interaction was pretty quick with me and John, and how we recorded that, and then how he edited it, and we passed it back and forth a little bit. But yeah, I'd say this is my first record of solo material that I really labored over and thought about, and then moved stuff and recorded and changed it and sequenced and did all that. The other stuff has felt really just quick.
Yeah. How was it? How was it making the record?
It was really fun. I used that Muse box that I've used on some of our records it's basically an effects box and then a MIDI module that you plug a keyboard or a trigger into, and you can play sounds like a keyboard sound or whatever, guitar sound. Mm-hmm. And so I got pretty into that. And then I was looking for something to broaden my horizons a little more, something to jump off from there. And then I found this thing called a Emu MoFat on the internet on OfferUp, mm-hmm. and it was $50. And I didn't really know what it was, but I thought it was similar. But then I realized that it was just you can't add anything to it. Like you can't play something and get an effect. It just has all these sounds in it. So I brought that home from the guy. The guy gave it to me for $50, and he's like, "Hey, man, you know what this is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I looked it up." He's like, "Okay, it's like a deep. This is deep." I'm like, "Okay." But
because you'd use samplers and things in the past and keyboards,
samplers,
things like that. Like how does something like a MoFat or what that is, like how does that?
I mean, this is the difference is that samplers that we've used in the band or in the past, you make a sound, you put it in there, you push a button, and you can kind of affect what you put in there. Mm-hmm. This is just more like it has all this stuff in it, all these sounds that are already in there, so you can't add anything to it. But what's cool is that it's a really intense. The editing in it is really intense, and you can do a lot. It's built more like a synthesizer, the way that you edit sounds. Mm-hmm. So once I sort of started playing with it, it became clear to me that I could use this as an instrument. Like it's like I got a guitar. I'm like, wow, you can get better at this thing. And it was nice to also just sort of push a button and have a sound come out, and then not have to really think about how to create a sound. Because you and I do that in our band where you have a guitar riff or we have a sample and it starts a song, and then you're trying to add to it with maybe a sample we'd created before or perhaps a new thing that we'd create. And this, I mean, part of it is just kind of feeling lazy. You're like, I don't know, what's this? And a lot of these sounds are kind of, like I said, they're R&B. Oh, okay, I didn't say this, but the MoFat, the one that I got, this is very long-winded. Sorry, but
no, this is good.
The thing that I got is the MoFat, and it's a 1U. So like it looks like a VCR 1U rack, and it came out in I think 2000 or 2001. So the same time I saw you play at the headline, this thing was being manufactured. But what's interesting about that time, I think, is because it was right before computers were just ubiquitous in recording and everything. So this thing is jam packed with not only samples, but just with the technology pre-computer, where they're just trying to make it maybe starting to compete with computers or compete with other modules. So it's almost like unrealized potential because the sounds are kind of goofy, but there's so much editing that you can do. Well, the goofy, I don't know. I mean, I like a lot of them, but sometimes I've done improvisational sets where if I don't plan anything and you hit a preset or a button and you're like, oh no, we're done. That's just too much,
we're fucked.
Some of those I use, but then it's like, anyway. So that's essentially what it is. But this Emu made a bunch of these modules that are genre specific. So there was the MoFat was the R&B hip hop one. There's one called the World Expedition that was for the world music. And then there was, the main one is the Proteus 2000. That was like you just one ROM card with just whatever you want for the composer, anything, like a little bit of everything.
What about the TurboFat?
TurboFat is the MoFat, but souped up to 128 voices.
What?
Yeah, instead of 64. So,
but when they say voices, it basically means like a sample that's spread across whatever 88 keys.
I think it means you can play that many voices at the same time.
Oh, okay. But so it's loaded. But a voice is a sound. Like say there's violins or something. That'd be considered one voice.
Yeah, I think.
I see.
Again, I mean.
Right.
The manual is this thick, and I've read it. I read it to go to sleep.
I bet it's good.
It's good, but also it's very sometimes gets very technical, and
it's hilarious because it's really
to learn, but
it's like you said pre-laptop, pre-Mac sort of like platformed interface sort of stuff of like where this is for Cakewalk or this is for Logic or this is for Pro Tools.
Yeah, it doesn't
this was
have
sort of
that.
meant to be. It was meant to be outside of computer world because computer world hadn't really codified itself yet,
not yet
in that way. So this is like I want to say it's out of the box, but it's in a different box. It's in a box. It's in that box, not the box of like digital world that we think of. It's a different digital world.
No, but I'm amazed with how much, and maybe because I don't really understand, the world of MIDI, or now I'm getting a bit more understanding of it, but like the capabilities of this little thing that I don't, it just seems ridiculous. Because I honestly I'll read that thing or I'll fall asleep and I'll try something and I'm like, I learned a whole new trick that would have helped me dearly like a year ago, but I'm like, wow, you could do that. I mean, when I made the record, it's called Basic Editions, and it's going to be on Drag City September 27th. But when I made the record, I didn't even realize that, or I knew, but I didn't know how to save any of the patches that I made. So none of it's saved. It's on the record, but it's like I didn't, I can't recall most of that stuff. So now I know that.
Yeah.
But like those, I mean, and that's maybe more a testament to my brain, but I'm just not that inclined to learn every piece because it's intuitive to me. What's cool also is that there's these knobs in the front that you can assign effects or parameters, and then you can adjust them in real time too. So, and I'm still learning how to get those saved. And then there's so much stuff to do on here, but it's only 2 lines of text. So you have to push a bunch of buttons and scroll through, and it can be very tedious, but.
And I mean, was there anything that seemed daunting about it, or I mean, what was sort of the engine that made you push through to continue digging deeper?
I think because there is a button on the front that says audition.
Okay.
And then you scroll to any preset. You push the power on, you scroll to preset, hit audition, and it plays a riff from that preset, and it's like down down or whatever. And then I mean that's essentially. Once I did that and then scrolled the wheel, it just felt like there's endless things in here. And then I figured out the tempo, you can slow it down to like 1 BPM,
sure,
or 300, and that I think. Oh, and then plugging the MIDI keyboard into it, and then hitting something while the audition was going. I think I just plugged in to mess around, and it also sounds really good. The actual sound, it's a Rompler, so all the sounds are sampled. It actually is. They went to a studio and recorded all these things. So
Rompler.
It's a Rompler, and it's like the snare is a real snare that they recorded.
Sure.
The voice of the person going, "Ooh," that's somebody. So
yeah.
But then you can affect those as a synthesizer engine, where you can like change change it to a sawtooth or add a Z plane filter, or I mean those kind of things just seem. I learned that later, but I think plugging it in and pushing a button and having it go, and then messing with the tempo. I realized that there's a bunch of stuff in here that I probably could get some mileage out of. And exciting because it sounded like sounds that, I plugged it in and it maybe also didn't sound cool, very cool. But, and also maybe slightly sounded familiar because I think these things were used a ton, like in all these kind of 2000s hip hop songs, or even like boy bands and Britney Spears and pop stuff. But so there's something familiar about these sounds. But then there's also something kind of hi-fi about the way they sound too. I mean, they're, again, it's like I don't know the exact parameters in the back of all the internals and outernals of the
high sample rates for the
high
time.
sample rate, things like that. But I think
stuff.
I think it was pretty wild. So
it has arpeggiators too. Syncable arpeggiators. Do you use those? That sounds like fun.
No, not so much. I've messed with them, but
that's the next record, or the third record.
Yeah, that's just it's funny
once you start layering like thirds and fifths arpeggiated on top of each other with like car horns. Watch out.
Yeah, watch out, because I think what's cool is that they're each patch that you bring up is made of 4 layers. stop me if this is too.
No.
Okay.
So I mean, not for me. I'm with you.
Okay. Each patch that you can recall,
like stacks, like key stacks. Like
but there's 4.
Yeah.
Well, each sound that you hear when you play the preset is 4 layers on top of each other. So you can actually edit each one of those layers. And, I'll do a lot of like random scroll, hit a button and just scroll and kind of like mess with it. I'm not the most patient person sometimes. But you can kind of do that. And then, like I said, I'll read the thing and then get kind of, I'll fall asleep, but then I'll kind of get like, oh wait, there's another thing I can do. And then once I realized what the saving was big for me, once I could save them, that was huge. Kind of needed to do that. And then once I found there's a setting that you can do. It's called randomize. So those 4 layers puts 4 random layers together. And then you're like John Cage over here and you're just like, oh, wow, look at that. But then those, every like 20th one you hit, you're like, whoa, that is just insane. I don't understand what is happening. But then you can go through each layer and then sort of move stuff around, and but all in a 2-line display, So there are programs that people have made, I think, to go back and sort of crack them, but I haven't gone there. Or you can put it on. There's programs that you can run on your computer now, and then plug it into your interface and edit, and then maybe save it.
More visual interface control, so you can see everything.
I haven't gone there yet.
Yeah, there's something about those little like green and black little screens.
Yeah,
it becomes like strangely like sadistic. Like the more time you spend with them, you're like, ooh, you just screwed me. Ooh, this hurts. This is so confusing. But then you start to get into it. We're like I'm into the pain of like working on this tiny little screen. Like if I can conquer this screen, I can figure it out. Look, check it out. Boom, boom, boom. Hit this 10 times, back twice. It's like AB, start, select. You figure out what the code is, the cheat code.
I think for me too, also, and I don't know if it's just like passe or something, but it feels like the limitations are really good for me because I don't know if there's too much. I either just I'm done, or I just it's too much. And then I just sort of feel like I'll come back to this. But I think because it's there's not much I can do. I mean, there's a lot I can do, but really because there's 2 lines and you're just kind of scrolling, like I'm really limited in a way. And that helps me be able to just create or, organize the sounds in a way that feels like, productive.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's in my mind, there's lots of parallels or sort of metaphors as a creative sort of practice. It's almost like, like working like on tube amps. It's like, I just like tube amps because they're simple. There's a limit. There's X amount of parts that are into this thing. I'm like, yeah, but don't you want to put a digital chip in there that can do all of this stuff and it can emulate 14 different tube amps? Like, no. I just want the one with the tubes and the thing. I like the thing the way it does. Or cars, classic cars. It's like, no, I want the whole engine. Like, but they make computer chips that regulate all of those things. You're like, I'm just more into just tweaking these wrenches and just making this one thing work.
But then it's nice if you stick with that. You stick with that for years, and you're the person who fixes the tube amps. The person that knows, and you're like, that's the guy because you're, and not that anything's wrong with the digital amps, but there's a different sound, and these things sound very, I think, unique, and also like. There's a lot of low end on this little thing, which is crazy. Like when I played it at shows, it's like it rattles. And I don't know what the magicians at Emu what they did, but
we just think about production in a box too, like where you could be running it into a mixer and then boosting all the low end, but then it's out of the box. It just kind of comes pre-ready.
It reminded me of the Akai 12-track, digital 12-track that we used to record a lot of that. Weirdo Rippers stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the same thing where you're scrolling through and you're like, oh god, oh geez, you're putting all these buttons and it's like you maybe hit the wrong thing. Like, because I remember
I got to go back to
you mostly used it, but then I would take it downstairs or from the practice space, and then I'll add my vocals on it because and how I work with you go and learn the whole thing, and this is actually I feel like I'm invested now because I'm just like I keep reading the thing, but I'll get to a point I'm like learn enough, like okay, like I still don't know how to use Pro Tools at all. I've never even opened. I don't have it on my computer, but you're like okay, you push the button. I'm like I got a button. All right, good. Same thing with that Akai I would take it and like, I'm just going to do vocals, but you showed me enough to get to the part where I do the vocals, and that's it, you know, or add I added some keyboard, I remember too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very much like that. It's the sepia tone and black display, and you're just sort of like hitting buttons.
Well, so much of it's, you know, and it's about the motivation, you know, it's finding yourself compelled to go further and whatever it is. And I think that's a big part of like any creative practice or process. You know, it's like, what is the thing? And I think ultimately, if we're honest with ourselves, like anybody who's creative, what makes the final product or what makes the art different, or one way that makes it different, is each person is motivated in a different way to approach the same. You know what I mean? Like there's a million watercolors out there. They don't all look the same. They're like, it's a tool, but what's the person trying to get out of it, right? Or what is it that compels you to continue to pick up the tools and to keep working with them? I think that's unique to each person, you know, and what you find. And so, you know, especially in finding a unique tool or space or you know, a canvas to work in.
Yeah.
And then just, what is it? You know what I mean? When it's like, you'll find your place where it's like, okay, this is enough. I'm excited to keep going further, versus just, I can't, it's too much, I want to leave it alone.
Yeah. I think that's what I found here, or it just felt like it was, I'd never heard of the thing, and it's unexplored territory. But it felt like getting an instrument, a guitar. Man, I totally have a tool I can learn, and I'm not into synthesizers. Like, it's just not I never was. I'm not in a modular synth. Mm-hmm. This is very similar. This is, I mean, a version of that.
Totally.
You play with a MIDI keyboard, and it's a, like, synthesis engine. When I go on the forums, shout out to the forums, my people out there.
Gear Space. You
are.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Gear Space. But, you know, I mean, it's like, I think it's like modular synth, I guess, in a way, somehow, how it works. But
well, I was gonna say too, especially, I think, you know, approaching something as a solo sort of music practice, it's a lot different. I mean, the other ways, you know, I think because we've been in bands specifically with each other, but been in other bands too, where it's like, it's about what you bring to the group. Like, kind of like we said at the beginning, you know, like it's a ska band, but like, okay, well, I can do the shakers. I'm the guy with the tambourine or whatever it is that compels you to be part of whatever that group is that you're in. It's like, but then outside of that, to just find something that you're motivated to work on by yourself is a whole other kind of piece of work.
I mean, and yeah, it's funny because I found myself with this, and it might be the first time in a long, long time that I'm like jamming. I pull it up and I'm just like, I can spend an hour or two just playing it for no reason other than to just play it. And I don't think I have done that. Maybe, you know, like in our first band or earlier than that, I just play, but I don't really have that in me either much to just like, you know, just maybe go play the drums or just jam on the drums myself in a collective setting, because we're working towards a goal. You and I are going to write a song or something, but this is different. And this is maybe why I made a record, or why I'm excited. Like, I'll go play because it's just fun to do.
Well, it's funny. I mean, because we've talked, you know, over the years and stuff, and I think I've gotten to know you in your creative process, or what motivates you and what gets you excited. And there's always been an editing and curating process that you've developed far beyond anything I've ever tried to do. And I think there's something about this piece that somehow it meshes with that as an editor. You know what I mean? That you can go in and then also in a curation kind of way, like, oh, cool. Here's the parameters of the material, and here's where I can edit those things, which I think works well with how you do it. But I think also in some ways though too, it sounds like, you know, you're becoming, you know, a musician, you know, I think we've talked over the years, and it's like, I don't know, I'm not a musician like that. Like, you used to talk about jamming in those kind of ways, or even, you know, Randy Newman called you out when you met Randy. We met Randy Newman. He's like, I'm a musician. He's like, what do you play? You can finish the story. I don't know.
I think I said drums, and he said,
drums, yeah.
What did he say? Good luck with that, or like, that's not. I don't know.
Like, that's not music.
Yeah, a snarky. Ooh, he got me.
Ooh, that Randy Newman.
Randy Newman.
So spicy after all these years.
Well,
no, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you're finding joy in making sounds. I mean, that's what a musician does.
I mean, I just mean that like I've in a band setting, like, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we can
well,
play.
When you have a great bandmate like me. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But we're jamming, we're making, like, we're working towards a thing, or, I mean, we will, and there's times we would jam, but it's like we're working towards, I mean, but early on we would just get together and we practiced every week at the same time. And you're not always writing. You're just like, I don't know, we're just playing music. And then it would
but you're going to play a show. There's other motivating factors into it. Like, I want to get ready for the show. I want to be, make a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess now there's shows and things, but because I'm trying to learn this instrument. I find myself just like find a free 30 minutes whenever I can or whatever. And just play just for playing, finding, or just, I guess I'm just trying to find if I can find a sound and then try to save it for later. But
I remember that was me, like, as a kid, like, I found a chord. Holy shit, there's a G minor. Okay, we can write a song around this. Like I remember coming into practices early days and being like, listen to this. Ta-da!
Chord.
Like, this chord works, yes. Like,
look at this change. This chord to this chord. Oh, Jesus. My God.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. I mean, learning the 1-3-5, kind of like bluesy thing. I was like, that's why that works. There's a lot of times it was just like, I got a chord. I'm going to like keep moving my fingers till it starts to sound good. Like, okay, that's the next chord. Keep moving my fingers till I find the next one. Okay, that's good. Much in the same way, we're like, you're kind of rotating, turning knobs so you can find something that sounds good. There was a lot of that. Like, I found one thing that sounds good, and I'm going to move my fingers and keep playing till I find the thing that sounds good for the next part of it. And then, I think we've written albums that way. I don't know. I've written albums just moving my fingers till it sounds good. That would be the Randy Randall story.
Yeah. I mean, I think just playing this, like when I plugged it in and I heard the possibility of just using these sounds that maybe sounded familiar, kind of funny perhaps, and then just the in-between of like editing those things. And then I think playing, like you and I have talked about before, the best way to start playing music or a band is just like book your show. Just book the show or be like, all right, I'll play. And then you're just like, all right, now I got 6 weeks. So I knew I had this thing, but then I'm like, what is that even? There's so many ways to go with this. Like a guitar, you're like, I could do ska. I could do solo ska. I could do an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Folk person. I could just do noise. So I had to kind of figure that out. And then as I was working towards a record, the same thing, I started recording. I didn't feel like I was ready to record, but I just was starting to go into starting to record things. And, the first probably 10 or 15 things I recorded were just not it, but, just work through it. Like, oh, that's not good. But also like playing live, you play it and then you're like, that didn't hit. It sounded really cool in my headphones, I think. And you play that out and you go, no, that's just not what people want. That's not what I want to give. And it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I remember doing sound for you at that show at Permanent Records.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was early
That was days. Early. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First
and I
couple.
Had the smoke machine button.
Cue the smoke, man.
Nothing like a smoke machine on a patio. Really gets a party going.
Well, that was early. I only had the one, and I was like in one bank. I mean, it's technical, but I didn't know a lot then. But I was able to sort of.
But you need to go through that to get to the next thing.
And it wasn't bad. Those aren't bad sets, but it was just sort of a different thing. But I think once I recorded now, and then now trying to translate that recording vibe into a live set is now another thing, and it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I'm glad to be able to. I'm glad we can make music. I mean, it's a great part of life that us music people get to do. Even if you don't put out records or no one buys it or whatever, it's still just it's I don't know. Sometimes you got to sneak away for 30 minutes and jam on the MoFad or play guitar. Jam on the guitar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I've always felt about it. I mean, I think there's something about, playing music and playing guitar for me that it keeps me sane. I think there's a moment I can tell I'm like, oh, I haven't played music in a while. I remember discovering this, years ago. And like I just feel all antsy. Just as soon as I can play some loud guitar, I'm like, that's better. Now I'm reset. It's that kind of reset button and sort of expresses something. And, as parents too, I mean, that's something I've been able to share with my kids. Like, just, you're feeling something, come in here, just play something loud, scream, bang on something, I think as human beings, we're like programmed to have some type of expression,
Yeah.
You need something to get your insides outside.
Get your insides outside.
Yeah. That's
a good one.
Yeah, well, that's what the podcasting's taught me. Say funny things into a microphone. It's about 2 minutes of funny things in over about an hour and a half. It usually works out as quality content.
And then you have to edit. This is all live. You edit this, or this goes live?
In theory, I'll edit some of it.
Okay.
But mostly not. I feel like I like all the ums and ahs and the mess ups. Those are more fun for me. My favorite thing was I will take something you said during this part and start the episode with it, and then something else you said, and then end the episode with it. So I've enjoyed that part of the podcasting creative editing process. Just the out of context headline,
I wonder what it's going to be.
Pull quotes. They would have pull quotes in magazines. I try to find the most random pull quote and put those at either sides of the thing.
I'm going to mark what I think it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay. You write it down, and then when it comes out,
I'll reveal it.
Go on Instagram, and then you post it first, and then we'll see if we got it right. My goodness, what a world, right? Oh, you run a record label. You're a multi-hyphenate. I think we haven't even hit that. I've been moving further and further away from whatever the conceptual piece of this podcast is. Yeah. I don't know why. It just doesn't really seem.
Just have friends on and talk.
Yeah, it's mostly what it is. I've been able to monetize my social life, in this post-apocalyptic, lonely computer world.
Like, good for you. Good for you.
Right? Feels like the thing to do.
I do run a record label, and it started in 2001, and I've put out over 100 some records, and it's called Post Present Medium. And it's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah, man.
And I really enjoy doing it.
It's great. Yeah. Where do people buy those records?
You can go to postpresentmedium.com, or you can go to postpresentmedium.bandcamp.com, or is it bandcamp.postpresentmedium.com? I think it's
the name first.
Yeah.
It's the artist name or the thing.
Yeah.
Yep. .bandcamp.com.
Or at postpresentmedium on Instagram.
Hey.
Or at PPM Rex. Fuck X in the Twitter. So never mind.
Are you on those?
I am, but I don't. I mean, I'll repost something sometimes. I just can't get, I can't get on with it like Elon Musk.
Yeah, I left. It just felt like I barely used it. If anything, I was sending stuff from Instagram there, and then I'd repost whatever band things came in.
People use it though. I mean,
just felt like a hellscape. I'm sure they do. People use Threads. People use Blue Sky. People use a lot of things. But it's like,
well, I mean, for like, because of the label, people who write about records and stuff, a lot of those people are not on Instagram. They're very active on X. Yeah.
To review records.
Yeah, they write. Yeah, write for publications. I think it's maybe it was seen as a bit more professional, but it just seems not worth, and all the politicalness of it too. But
right.
Anyway,
are there any other record reviewers on TikTok?
I've never.
You ever get TikTok record reviews?
I don't know. I've never even been on TikTok. I mean, I've seen the reposts of it, but
Snapchat. No good Snapchat. Can you get a post-present medium face filter?
We got a sick Snapchat page. It's like me as a dog.
Yeah.
I review my own records I put out. I love doing the label though, and I've done it for a long time, and I feel like it's. There's been, like with anything, it's gone up and down, and I've had different distributors, and I've used different pressing plants, and it's tumultuous at sometimes because especially during the pandemic, like you couldn't get a record pressed because whatever Taylor Swift records were getting pressed everywhere. And then, I've moved to doing some tapes and CDs during the pandemic because vinyl taking so long, and I'm sort of, but I have a healthy group of people who keep me working, like trust me, and I like working with them, and we try to put out music that's interesting. I love it. I love doing it. I mean, I wasn't that active for a few years. I think around 2013 to at the same time we weren't really active. I don't think either. I think I just checked out from the world for a minute because there's so much going on. Or I had to shift my perspective too. But I'm back with it.
He's back, baby.
And we have a record that just came out, Callahan and Witcher.
Oh my goodness. Tell me about it.
It's Jack Callahan, who is a composer. He was also he runs a label with Jeff Witcher called Flea. Jeff Witcher, our old friend.
Yes.
He was Renee Hell. He was in Rainbow Blanket a long time ago. But he's also a experimental music composer. But they made a record together that sounds much more like Sugar Ray.
That's the record you're putting out? The Sugar Ray record?
Just came out.
Oh, gosh.
Their Sugar Ray record.
Gotcha.
Sugar Ray or like 311. I mean, Jeff raps on it. And
great.
It's a polarizing record, I think, for like a lot of people like it and a lot of people don't like it. And it's maybe made for that. But it's a cool critique on contemporary music and culture. And
that's cool. I should talk to Jeff on the pod.
You should.
I bet he would have lots of good thoughts about stuff.
Jeff is an amazing chess player.
Mm.
He teaches kids how to play chess.
That's fun. JeffChess.com.
Yeah.
That's his website.
Jeff Chess. That record just came out, and I'm always check it out. If you like interesting music, my label was just described as the great avant punk label.
Oh, there you go. There's your pull quote.
There it is. But it's a fun thing. Like it's just me. And Roy helps with the design stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's other points. Like I said, it's been a long time. I've had employees work for me. I had friends that I paid to do stuff, and it's now it's me, and I do all the pack everything myself.
Yeah.
Mostly, I had people do it because we were on tour all the time. Like I just literally couldn't physically mail records myself. But everywhere you've seen me with boxes of records somewhere doing some sort of mailing of them.
Always. Yeah. That's the big part about physical media is it keeps the shipping industry alive.
God bless media mail. I mean, really.
At least you got that. I think if Trump gets reelected, first thing he's going to do, get rid of media mail.
Maybe. I mean, it would be, I think all the labels would probably just fold.
That's the one pin, you pull that one thing out of media mail, and the entire physical media landscape just.
Well, if you buy an LP, crumbles. I might be wrong about this, but say you buy an LP from me for $25 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It'll cost, and then it's like $6 to ship with materials. That's what I charge. Maybe it's less if it's a CD or something. But that's sort of a standard media mail rate. I think it was like if you don't have the media mail, it ends up being like $12. So then are you going to pay $25 and then $12 to ship an LP? Like, are you going to click it? You might go, damn, I don't know. That's a lot more. Or you go to the record store and buy it, but
yeah,
they're going to pay more for shipping too.
That gets harder. That gets harder and harder these days. Yeah, the good record stores.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good ones still, but I think they're just not where you and I live. Maybe not that close.
There's a couple, yeah, but
in
eBay.
Sunland.
There
was a record store in Sunland?
The one next to the skate shop. They're just never open. I mean, I'm a cranky old man. Where
I know. That's the vibe out here.
When I have time to go to places, I want to go to them at that time that I have the time, and their time is we're open from 2 to 3 on Thursdays.
Totally.
Like, well, but I wanted to go at like 10 a.m. on a Monday. Like, oh yeah,
is it? It is. There's a shop there. Is it still there?
There was. I don't know. Maybe it's not there anymore. It was by the record store, or it's by the skate shop across from El Pollo Loco. Do you remember that one over there? No, I think you went. I think you went to it. It was like Disc Depot, or like it has one of those kind of names.
I don't think I ever went there. I went to the Dollar Tree that has a bunch of Armenian CDs and stuff that are cheap. I bought a bunch of those.
It's pretty good.
Like $1. Yeah. But yeah, there's some records. I think there's a record store out here that I haven't been to. I went to once, but the ones that I went to when I was a kid are not here anymore.
Yeah. It's a funny one. I just think, so much of like everything, I mean, there's all the streaming stuff. I don't think what's your opinion on the future of streaming? Does it seem viable, or where do you go?
Oh my gosh.
Is that what, just more of that happening or less of that?
I mean, do we have time for this?
Maybe not. But I mean, you're a big proponent of the library. So I know
I do use the library.
There's an aspect about those types of services that I think I often attribute to be akin to a library, like a private library service. You know what I mean? This is in essence what it is. You have access to archives, for a monthly fee. It's one thing that public libraries don't do. But again, maybe that's when the Trump's next edict is.
I mean,
shut down libraries, charge for libraries.
I kind of feel that the streaming. Is it viable? I mean, I think at some point artists are going to want to get paid more. But at the same time, and you and I have talked about this before, like, I think Spotify and Apple should pay more. And it's kind of a shitty way to listen to music. It doesn't feel great to listen to music on those things. It's like for quick, like check something out in the car. That's how I feel. I think it's much more like, it's like you can't focus so much, I think, for me on a full record, but at the same time,
it's not what it's designed for.
No, it's for quick, like, shuffling through and hearing something really quick, but it's like a festival. It's like, that's not for serious music people. It's just sort of like, it's a smorgasbord of stuff. Like, I want to hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then like get a $30 taco.
Hear a little bit of the Super Mario Brothers soundtrack, but played with farts.
Yeah, and that's
mostly what. Then followed up with the Skibbity Toilet remix. The next with Gorilla Poop, and then
it's your kid's playlist here, huh?
And then some Minecraft raps, followed up by Among Us rap.
I mean, but also, like, as someone who runs a label, you see how sometimes those things actually can pay a little bit, and that's cool. But
it's better than nothing, right?
I think what it really does is it just allows you, like, a way to introduce your band to people when you go, like, at the coffee shop. You're in a band, yeah. Oh, is it on Spotify? Like, yeah, sure. And then I always feel like then you'd have to parlay it into, we're playing a show, want to come see us play, or because they're not going to buy a record. But I actually happened at the coffee shop the other day. This guy played an OH song
at the coffee shop.
Yeah, because he knew
on the coffee shop.
It's a local coffee shop, so he knows. He played it. I'm like, hey, look, dude, that's like 1/18 of a cent. Thank you. And he was like, really? That's fucked up. Like, I didn't even know that.
Hold on, let me tip you $6 for my latte. Hold on.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have too strong of opinions on streaming, I guess. I mean, I think it's kind of just, I think it's dumb, but I also think, I don't hate it. I don't know, I didn't pay for the service. You paid for it a while ago, and you let me be on your family plan.
I had a family plan. I had 5 slots. I was like, "Do you want in on this?"
I was in, and then I was off, and then I stopped using it, and then now I have Apple because it was part of the like bundle on getting more, cloud storage. And so now I use Apple Music, but it's like in the car, or maybe like Penny asked something, I'll push play, but I don't use it that much. So
do you play CDs in the car?
I do.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. What do you got in there? What's on the playlist? Or what's on the CD changer? You got a 5 CD changer?
Yeah, I have there are 5 CD changers in there. Yeah. There's the Honeybane singles collection.
Ooh.
All the Honeybane singles. And there's a Velvet Underground record. A CD that Kirsty left in the car.
Nice.
In the CD player. And there is a Japanese composer. His name is, hold on, what is it? It's I have one here because I bought a couple of them because it was very Toru Yamanaka. And there's a Hairy Pussy CD in there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. I know. I would. Yeah. We were driving with my mom going to see the Rolling Stones, and we were driving in her car because she had the handicap placard, so we could get good parking. And she had CDs. So like the New Radicals, remember that band?
The old CDs. Like she get them in a thrift store. Or she's just had them.
She's just had them. I think she bought all these new. She had the New Radicals. And then she had the Rolling Stones, like, the latest Rolling Stone, or not the latest one, but the last one that came out with like Bigger Bang with all like the hits on it, and plus live cover versions of songs.
Yeah,
it was great.
CDs,
put a CD in. It's fun. It was easy.
It's fun. I mean, it's easy. You can listen to 84 musics 84 minutes of music just sort of without stopping.
Is that what they top out at? So it's literally double. It's a double LP.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the thing. Like, as far as the physical format, I guess it's the only one that you can just listen to that long without having to change something. But,
and I wish I could better than waves. Is the quality better?
I think it's the same. It depends on what.
Better than MP3.
Way better than MP3.
Yeah.
I think you can listen to it on like a hi-fi, what is it, AAC or the DAC?
Yeah, the FLAC
conversion or FLAC or whatever it is. But I wish I could sell them. I just because I put some out for my label, but I don't really sell. Like, I don't think nobody really buys them that much.
It's interesting.
They seem to be the hotter item at the moment. I mean, cassettes I can still sell a little bit, but vinyl for sure.
Yeah.
That's where I've existed forever, and that's what I usually buy when I think of stuff. But CDs are cool now, especially at this time, because there's a lot of stuff, because streaming is just ubiquitous everywhere. There's so many things that came out on CD in the 90s or 2000s that are not on streaming. So I've had to seek stuff out on CD because that's the only place it exists. And you can buy it on Discogs or whatever, or, like a lot of B-sides or like the weird cuts on a thing that came out on a CD to fill some space. And because we put
CD maxi single, Benny Benitez club.
Yeah,
remix,
but a lot of that stuff or whatever,
yeah.
I mean, the Sugar Cubes or whatever, like those things just aren't, like they're not, the label hasn't caught up or the band hasn't compiled all those yet. So they're just not, like, there's not a demand. Well, so those things just exist at a thrift store somewhere, and it's like, oh, this is cool. I don't even know the song, and you can't really find it. Maybe it's on YouTube, but maybe not.
Mm-hmm. There's things I've found, or within the streaming thing, is that a lot of classic records will get remastered for streaming. Like they'll have a whole new sort of version of it, and it's not always necessarily better. But I think there's a different kind of technical side of what kind of is the normalized sort of volume of streaming. So I think there's something to be said for that too, even just for archival purposes, like having the CD version, having a version of that, like the unmastered or the mastered for CD versus mastered for.
Well, because they might take off the old version of streaming.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I mean, I actually don't really enjoy the remastered. I've heard some of that stuff, but it just feels like.
It's different than what you know. That's like, it didn't sound like this before.
But especially for a classic,
it's not,
especially for a classic record where they had. I mean, I think we're talking about like major label stuff, right? Like classic
Metallica.
Records.
Like all
those things, they had $1 million budgets anyway, so it already sounded good. I mean, I'm reissuing an Intima record that's an LP that they remixed and were remastering, but that's because it sounded like shit the first time. It wasn't like a Metallica budget where it sounded good. It just sounded like, now I have a hard time listening to that stuff again because, in Metallica's case, I loved Metallica, so hearing a different sounding version of Ride Lightning where you can hear more, I don't know, cymbal or something just seems like, I don't know. It was fine. It was great the way it is.
It's supposed to be a value proposition. Like, hey, this sounds even better. But like, just like Star Wars, my beloved obsessions. It's like, well, I don't want the extra stuff. I want the bad, shitty version that I fell in love with.
And rest in peace, Darth Vader's
James Earl
voice.
Jones. Yeah.
We thought about you when we heard that.
I put up a little homage. What was the? But the thing was too, even though like. Like Oasis, I went to. I was like, oh, they're good doing the reunion. Like, okay, I remember this record. I want to go. But the only thing was that I found on Spotify, it was like all the extra stuff, like the deluxe super edition of the record with all these like 14 extra tracks.
Yeah,
I just want the regular record. I don't want I guess you just skip it. But if you're playing the thing, then
if you put those in a folder or something.
I don't know.
That's what CDs are good for.
It's a
vinyl.
Snapshot in time. Yeah.
I mean, because no one can take it from you.
Right.
Take it out of my cold dead hands over here, the CD.
That's
how we listen to it.
You don't own that extra special version. I guess you could go out and buy that if you're the real fan. It's like
I guess, but it might disappear also. They might just Liam and Noel
if you buy the digital version of it, and you don't have.
No, if it's on streaming, I don't know. Like, oh no, you can't get that one anymore because Liam got mad.
Took that version down.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That's just like, I mean, again, the streaming just it cheapens music to just feel a little. Everything feels a little dumber. But it is nice to have a CD to put in your car. I don't know, or to listen to. I have a nice CD player, and a nice record player, and a nice tape player. I've gathered over the years of thrifting and things like that, and it's nice to put on a piece of music and like sit with it and listen to it intentionally. I also like to listen to music while I'm doing whatever, cooking or doing stuff. But I do like to listen to a record or a piece of music and like think about it and, have whatever coffee and that, I think streaming is, it's just not really made for that. Bandcamp. I mean, say
You
what
got to
you
get
want
back
about Bandcamp.
to real time players. I think that's what I'm nostalgic for those days when it would take you, 4 hours to download a This American Life episode and listen on Real Player.
Real Player. I think even real players of music. Like like, hey, listen, I really like this Justin Timberlake song, but I'm going to like hire these guys, this whole crew from Craigslist to come and play this. Here it is. I want to
here in real life, IRL people.
I only listen to music by real players.
Yeah.
Live music.
None of this reproduction stuff. I think that's almost what we're getting back to.
Well, that's like those hi-fi people who are like, they spend millions of dollars and they end up with like reel to reel in the living room full of gear and like, this is it. This is it. It's like at that point, give me an MP3. I don't care.
Just hire a band. Just hire a cover band to come in and play it.
Hire the real band.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean, you paid them. You've already paid.
That might be the new like revenue stream for bands. You know what I mean? If you
just
can
play
get
it live.
Like 1 or 2 billionaire fans, and they just you're on retainer. Like, hey, so the guy from Apple or Microsoft wants me to go just play at his house. In the morning when he has breakfast. I'm just like an indentured servant. It's kind of he has a guest house there. I have a backline set up. I just go around and do a tour of like billionaires, like mansions.
Sounds like Las Vegas.
Private jets, or like sounds like a Saudi Arabia, or like something.
I mean, if you imagine if like a billionaire really liked No Age and he's just like, you guys, like every Monday, I love to wake up, read my paper, have coffee, pet my dog, and I want to hear Eraser and Fever Dreaming.
I was gonna say Fever Dreaming. Yeah, just if we could just have to silently sound check in the earphones only, and then as soon as he wakes up, just hit that sample right in his face. Like, I mean, the way you trigger that sample live is so great.
And that's the thing again with someone like Elon Musk, who's the richest person in the world. Like, he seems so boring, and like, wouldn't you want to do if you have so much money? First of all, I mean, help some people out, but couldn't you just hire your favorite band to play every Monday? I mean, that would be so much cooler. The guy just seems like you could. I mean, I would if I had that much money. I would never want that much money, but I would just probably give it to you. But
to musicians. Well, that reminds me of a great joke from The Simpsons where Mr. Burns thinks he's hiring a band to play at his birthday, but they hired the Ramones instead. And it's really the Ramones that come out like die, you old scumbag. And then he turns to Smithers like, have the Rolling Stones murdered. He's like, but sir, that's the Ramones. Like, you heard me, have the Rolling Stones murdered. I'm like, okay, it's great. I'm sure it could happen. I'm sure there's some poor kid in his 20s right now getting hundreds of $1,000s to go play for some rich person. It's there. Good for them.
If you're listening to this, rich people, we're available.
Enjoy. Yes. Yeah.
I'll play Eraser. I'll play Fever Dreaming.
Oh, available for billionaires only. If none of this millionaire shit. If you're a millionaire, get out of here. We don't want to play for any millionaires. Only billionaires.
Get the fuck out of here.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think I got my pull quote. We're good.
All right. I'll note that.
All right. It's dragcity.com/Dean Spunt. Go buy the record. Pre-order it now. It'll be available when this comes out. They can also see you on tour. What are your tour dates? Do you know offhand?
I'm playing.
Where can I point people to find them? Yeah.
I guess Drag City artist page. Or my personal Instagram at .govgov. DOTGOVGOV. If you're in LA, I'm playing at Zebulon on September 30th. It's a free show. Playing with a couple other bands, the Split Bell Chime, 2070, and Regina. And then the next week, I'm going to go up the coast with the Split Bell Chime, and we'll go up to like Olympia and then come back home. And then in November, starting on November, I think 6th or 7th, I can't remember exactly, but Chicago, New York, and then Philadelphia, and then London, and a couple other cities are Amsterdam, Antwerp, and Paris.
All right, Dean's out there. There's plenty of Dean Spunt going around this fall. So make
Check
sure
it
you go
out.
out there.
I'll have a little
get yourself
old,
some.
little machine. I'll play for you.
What if this machine breaks on the tour?
I've thought of this.
Do you have a backup? Sorry, this is the Randy brain coming into
Dad.
Yeah, like,
son. What if your machine breaks?
Yeah, I'm just
Well,
do you have them all saved as samplers on? Then you can just play
no,
I don't. Pedal.
I don't. But side note, real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, this is part of it. But when I was talking to Drag City about putting the record out, and we had our kind of like virtual meeting about it, and they're like, "We'll have the record." I'm like, "Great, yeah." Like again, I told you, I'm like, I didn't save any of it, so I can't play any of that stuff. And they were kind of just like, "Oh, that doesn't sound." I'm like, well.
But I mean, I have the machine. I could
I don't know.
play something like it.
Oh, so anyway, but I think
they didn't like that you didn't have all of the sound saved.
I think they look sad
because is that you telling them you wouldn't tour on it?
No. It's telling them like I can't play these songs. If they're like, we love this song, I'm like, I can't play that.
I see what you're saying.
But I think I'm gonna have I figured out that I can have like a jam band type pedal. Have a couple of I can like take a couple layers and make it sound fine.
Yeah,
it'll work. But so my setup now is 2 of the romplers.
One for redundancy.
She's playing 2 different things, and I have a mixer, so I'm mixing them. Okay. If one breaks, I could still have one, and I have the looper that has probably some stems and type things in it that versions of the song. So I think I'll be fine. Worst case, I could just find one.
Just get the iPod or get your phone and just go to Spotify. And you can just
get
play
me
the
back
record.
On your family plan, and I'll just go. Look, I push play. Here we go.
This thing broke, but I'm going to play it on Spotify, and then I'm going to kind of like turn some knobs while it's playing, and I'm going to sit back here. Visually, you will not know the difference. Auditorially, it'll actually sound.
I'm going to FaceTime with my son, and you'll hear it.
He's going to play He's going to play the record at home.
So if it breaks, it breaks, and that's just it's part of the thing. I mean. You're coming to see me, not the machine, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I can just kind of like scat over the mic.
Oh my god! When I was doing those solo ambient guitar things, I definitely had the whole record on a Jam Man,
just in case.
Yeah, never know.
Yeah,
I just felt like, if I'm booking shows and someone's paying for that experience, like I didn't was unclear what the expectations would be in those early days. I'm like, well, at least I have the whole record here. I
think people like that.
I get bored or I can't play.
I met with a friend of mine, and he brought up Jay Reatard, and he's younger, so I don't know if you never saw him play, but I think there's a bit of a lore where he's like, dude, Jay would just play his whole thing with like one little speaker out of like he'd play guitar and sing to it, and with a loop pedal or something. And he was saying like
maybe
it was
did
cool.
That once on a radio show or something.
I remember him telling us about that.
Yeah,
maybe he did it live too, and. That's like what you're saying. It's like, wow, he played the whole backing track on the thing. And maybe some people dig that,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you could have
it's fine. It's fine.
You should get a Zune. You should get a Zune recorder. You should get a Zune recorder, though, like another piece of like outdated technology.
I used to have one of those. I just gave it to the thrift store.
Oh my god! Well, go back to the thrift store, buy it now, and you can say you thrifted it. It was a cool thrifted vintage piece of technology that then you could play like just in addition to it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point though, I have thought about like having some backup stuff, but because I have 2 of them, I think they're fine. I mean, I've bought a few of these now when I find them cheap.
Are you making a shirt for the tour?
I'm gonna make a shirt. Yeah,
it's
Quick
like
ink.
Dean loves romplers.
No,
Rompler for president.
hand me your rompler.
Have you kissed your rompler today?
No, a couple of the designs from the album will be on there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just think
sure. Yeah, it doesn't say
romplers
Dean.
are good. Romplers are good.
Basic editions. It was a weird solo thing too, right?
I'm wearing my Soundfield Volume 1 T-shirt.
Yeah, but it's like it would be funny if it said Randy Randall on it.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I don't know if
maybe you could do like a football jersey kind of thing, like on the back, just at Spunt. Some kind of like sports related thing. Maybe I don't know. I couldn't.
I'm going to Europe though. I have to make like a soccer.
Oh right. Jersey. Well, that's what I meant. Football, as in European football.
Yeah. Well, I will have a shirt. I'll have records, and come see me play.
There you go. All right. Well, Mr. Spunt, thank you so much for jumping on the Hyphenate pod. Please tell your friends. Let everybody know it exists out there. Give it a 5-star review. Don't forget to go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate to get your music up for free, or no, not for free, for a discounted price on all the streaming services.
Discount? How much?
20%.
Wow.
I know, right? You
Actually, I just
not
talked. The same friend said he was doing that. I should tell him to watch
give
it.
Give him the discount code. Yeah, VIP/hyphenate, and I think they don't know, somehow that tracks back to me. I think it's a pixel that says, "Hey, this guy convinced somebody to sign up for our thing."
Dude, we got mouths to feed, man.
That's how it works. Yep. Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, man. That was really fun.
I appreciate it.
Whoa, there he is. Dean Spunt. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I hope it was not horribly boring. Maybe it was insightful. I don't think he or I will have ever done or ever do in the future any other podcasts or interviews that were exactly like that. Yeah, like I say, I recommend interviewing everybody in your family, all of your friends, even if it's just for posterity's sake. Maybe you can get it transcribed. But it is a hilarious thing to do. I thought about with my mom and Shannon's mom and dad, just getting them here into the studio and just asking them basic questions and just getting it down and recorded a version of, I don't know, some kind of biographical interview. I think it'd be fun for the kids to listen to. I think if I had some type of wax cylinder or, tape recorded thing and it's something that was archived of my grandparents or great grandparents talking, no matter what it was, there'd be something interesting, even, and especially if it's, you're able to actually hear their voices. I know maybe that sounds a little dark or macabre, but there's, there's value in all these things. So like I say, interview your friends, interview your family, be the annoying person, take the extra pictures, take the videos, even when they say, "Oh, don't take the videos. Oh, I don't want to do it." I think somewhere down the line, there's something that comes of it. I think it is not reserved for celebrities. If anything, I think these things should all just be done by us regular people. Or I don't know what, however it works. I just think it's fun to talk to your friends, and even goofier when you have to press record. Funny things will come out of it. So I appreciate it, Dean. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Can't believe I got the name wrong. I think I was definitely turned around and tired, calling it a halftime. But it's good. Again, all of the things, warts and all, right? It's more fun that way. And do not forget, you've made it this far into the show, you must go to dragcity.com and pre-order, listen, stream, buy. They got all kinds of good stuff there at dragcity.com. But the main thing you should go buy and purchase and stream and do all the fun things you can do with it is the new Dean Spunt record, Basic Editions. Again, available via LP, MP3, or FLAC. It's a great record. You will not be disappointed. It's really fun. And then go see Dean on tour. You don't want to miss it. This is your once in a lifetime opportunity to see Dean and his traveling emu go around, going around the globe. It'll be fun. Give him $20. Again, tell him it's from Randy. Tell him Randy encouraged you to just give Dean $20. I want to see the look on Dean's face and then take a picture and then send it to me at Randy S. Randall on Instagram. I want to see what Dean's face looks like when you give him $20. He would be very, very happy. I guarantee you that. All right. Well, have a good one. Be safe out there. I need Halloween costume ideas. Send me what you're going to dress up as, what you're inspired by, what you think would look good on Dean and I for our Halloween Eve show at the Venice West with the Death Valley Girls. And, also funny family costumes. I love it. I love seeing it all. And I'll be back here on Monday with Aaron Farley to discuss all the dumb stuff I talked about or forgot to talk about with Dean. All right. See you next week.
Luckily, I went into the record store and they're like, "You're I don't know what you're saying." At Adolph Sense, I'm like, "No, there's a song called, like Kids is a Black Hole," and they're like, "Oh, it's Adolescence," and then I was relieved.